and advertisers.
All right, what's going on, everybody? A very happy Tuesday and another very busy news day. Welcome to Pushing the Limits, the ever so growing Pushing the Limits. Yes. Thank you all for being here. There's a lot to get to today. Obviously, some new information about the Charlie Kirk assassination. We have Pam Bondi that is now saying they're going to go after free speech if they don't like what people are saying. It's insane. And speaking of Charlie Kirk, he would not have wanted that. Not that I want to do everything that Charlie Kirk wanted to do, but I'm just saying, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump going after reporters today for asking tough questions, threatening them. And if that's not enough, Kash Patel embarrassing himself today in the House chambers. We'll get to all that stuff, and I figured what better person to do so. I always love catching up, really, with all the guys from Midas Touch. They're phenomenal, and we love having Ron Filipkowski, editor-in-chief of Midas Touch, joining us right now on the show. Ron, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Busy, stressed,
today's a busy
tired.
Day.
Yeah. Gosh, Ron, I don't even know where to start with you. I guess let's start with Pam Bondi. She's basically saying that if there's any sort of, her opinion, hate speech, really we know what that means, right? Anti-Donald Trump, anti-MAGA, she's going to go after you. What do you make of this? I mean, it's against our Constitution, our First Amendment rights. I thought MAGA Republicans were for free speech.
And everybody associated with his, law enforcement team, his DOJ team, Trump's, is so in over their head, intellectually, qualification-wise. They're not ready for prime time. They're not ready for something like this. And so, we saw her get into hot water with her own supporters over the whole Epstein thing where she bungled it repeatedly. And here we are again, where she's just taken incoming big time, not just from Democrats, but from Trump supporters yet again over this comment. Now, I think she got a bit caught up in all this is the problem. They're too online. They have their heads in right-wing social media all day long. I follow these people. They post on social media all day long. It's the Attorney General of the United States. I mean, these are the FBI directors. They're not supposed to be on social media all the time. They're not supposed to be commenting on open pending investigations. But, all the rules and norms that have guided this republic for 240 years are thrown out the window with this cast of characters. They don't follow any of them. And that causes them to get in trouble repeatedly. So I think she got caught up in all the mania on there about we need to go grab everybody and prosecute everybody that's, saying mean things about Charlie Kirk. And then she goes on the podcast. So where did she say this? She didn't say this on Fox. She didn't say it on Newsmax. She didn't say it in a press conference. She said it on Katie Miller's podcast. Okay, who is Katie Miller? Stephen Miller's wife. So Stephen Miller went nuts yesterday and said all this inflammatory stuff when he was with J.D. Vance when they were guest hosting Charlie Kirk's podcast. Then Katie goes and has Bondi on, and they go right down the same road. And it's different. It's one thing to be like the policy director of the White House saying crazy stuff. In theory, he has no authority over law enforcement. But it's different for the Attorney General of the United States to say those things. They carry a different degree of weight. So when she goes on there and she starts talking about we're going to go prosecute people saying nasty things about Kirk for hate speech, and by the way, she also mentioned prosecuting the lady at Office Depot who refused to print out Charlie Kirk posters. She didn't want to print them out. She was fired from her job.
Ridiculous.
But now Bondi's talking about wanting to criminally prosecute her for racketeering. I mean, racketeering, that's what they prosecute mobsters for. So I think almost like she thought that it would never get outside their little right-wing bubble by going on Katie Miller's podcast, which is not watched by very many people. It's new. She just started it. And she probably figured she was in a safe place to be able to pop off and say something like that. But, somebody clipped it and it went viral, super viral last night, and she got the huge backlash, and then she had to walk it back this morning. She goes and she puts out a long tweet saying, "Oh, no, I wasn't talking about hate speech. I was talking about, organizing to, threaten people." And it's like, no, she was, again, rightfully called out for that, saying that's not what you said.
Yeah, so. Just like she didn't say she had the Epstein files on her desk either. She walked that back as well. It's just completely and utterly ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, I wanted to ask you, what do you make of Kash Patel earlier today speaking in the House chambers, basically saying that there's nothing to see here with the Epstein files, making the case that, an assault weapons ban could possibly work, and then getting into it with Adam Schiff. And I just thought it was a clown show. What did you make of what took place?
Cory Booker was a good exchange. I mean, there was a lot of pretty fire exchanges. Look, this guy's like circling the drain. He's fired. I mean, it's just one of these things where Trump, when he fires somebody, doesn't like to do it immediately when everyone's calling for somebody's head. Like he never wants to respond to Democrats or the media. So he will always wait, like he did with Waltz, the signal guy. He waited like 3 weeks. He waits for the kind of the furor to die down, and then he does it. So, and then he claims, "Oh no, well, I just did it because of some other reason. It had nothing to do with what happened 3 weeks ago." So, because he wants to do it on like his terms, doesn't want to be perceived as caving to the mob, So I believe he's already made the decision to fire Kash Patel, and how we know that is because he brought in Andrew Bailey yesterday to start as Deputy Attorney General, co-deputy to Dan Bongino. There has never been a co-deputy Attorney General. So what is that? And that's number one. And number two is the reporting in the New York Times was Bailey, who is the Attorney General of the state of Missouri, said that he was not going when Trump was trying to get him to come take this position to basically babysit Kash and Bongino. He said he wasn't interested in doing that, and he wasn't going to give up his Attorney General spot in Missouri just to go be Kash's number two. So the reporting is that he was promised that if he accepted this job, he would be made FBI director within the next 90 days, right? So I believe that was the plan, that Trump is going to move Kash out in the next 30 to 60 days. He's going to give him some ambassador to, Timbuktu or something position. He's going to give him some other job in the government, because also the reporting is that Bondi can't stand Patel either.
Right.
He wants him out. So there's a power struggle there. So I believe that Patel basically went into this hearing kind of knowing that the writing's on the wall and he's in deep trouble, especially after screwing up this investigation out in Utah. And so he just went and started just throwing haymakers, today from day one. He just started going at it with all the senators and saying all kinds of wacky stuff. I mean, for him to say, like, when he was asked, do you think that banning assault weapons could reduce political violence in the future? And he said, yes. I'm like, this guy knows he's gone, because you can't say that as a MAGA Republican,
That's true. That's true.
And it was funny. My favorite part was Booker, who's not really my favorite senator, because he's kind of like very inconsistent, but he has his moments, right? Yep. And he just was taunting him. He's like, I know you're about to be fired. He's like, you're gone. You're toast. You're not going to make it to Christmas, in this job. And I thought that was great, because Patel just had to sit there and take it, kind of knowing that Booker was right.
That actually was a pretty funny moment. If you're just joining us, Ron Filipkowski, editor-in-chief at Midas Touch. All right, Ron. So I haven't even had the opportunity yet to talk to you about this whole Charlie Kirk situation. There's so much to dissect. But I want to start with this. Almost everybody on the right is saying this was a radical leftist. Yeah. My first reaction is, what does it matter whether it was somebody on the left or the right? My second reaction is, what does it matter if he might have been dating somebody who is transgender? How does that bear anything in this story? And it almost seems like if you criticize, see, Ron, you and I agree on this, right? Obviously, it was horrible what happened. He didn't deserve it. We feel for his families. most reasonable, decent human beings will do that. Yeah, there's always going to be some crazies on the left that are going to celebrate his death, which I and you do not support. But they make it like all the Democrats are doing that, like half the country's doing that, without even getting all the information of who this shooter is. I mean, it's like it's sickening to me. What do you make of this?
This is their standard playbook. You know, it's like prominent Republicans use this inflammatory language. Donald Trump, you know, and other senators, governors, elected officials use this kind of language about Democrats all the time. So when Mike Johnson said today, you know, Democrats called Trump the enemy of the people and fascist, and you can't do that. Well, I just immediately, it took me like 30 seconds, pulled up 4 clips from Donald Trump in October 2024, right before the election.
Yep.
Where he said the following things about Democrats. They are the enemy of the people, Marxist, communist, fascists, sick and evil, scum, vicious people. He was saying these things at his rallies. And then Brett, you know, with Midas, he put together a 6-minute montage of Trump just last year saying all those inflammatory things about Democrats. So it's their actual elected officials and their president who says those things. So to counteract that, they pick random people who you've never heard of and I've never heard of on Blue Sky or on the internet who said some bad things about Charlie Kirk after he died. No elected officials said anything. Like, there are no members of Congress, no governors, not me. I never celebrated it. I never said a single negative word about Kirk, even though I disagreed with him on almost everything. I didn't say one negative word about him since this happened. Okay. But they will cherry pick these rando people and they will say, see, this is the left inciting violence. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, we don't say that the Republican Party is responsible for the murder that took place of the Minnesota state rep in June. We weren't out there saying the Republican Party did this. We said one nut job right winger did this. But this is what they do. They don't ever the party of personal responsibility never wants to blame the person responsible. They're always looking to blame it on the Democratic, because they have a political agenda, they have a narrative, and they want this to fit into their narrative, which is like Democrats are leftist. There's an epidemic of trans violence.
Yep.
And that, you know, this feeds into the narrative. The problem is their theory on the trans violence is because they're doing it because of their hormone treatments that they're undergoing. Well, this guy isn't trans. This guy wasn't getting any treatment. In fact, if you want to point out the hero of the story, it happened to be the trans guy who turned him in and cooperated with the police. He's actually the hero here. Cash Patel didn't catch this guy.
Right.
The trans guy and his father turned him in.
Right. They're the ones who did. Such a great point. I didn't even think about that. They're blaming this on trans people when the person who is trans actually did a good thing and helped turn him in. And you mentioned the officer, David Rose, Ron, and I'm glad you brought that up because I haven't talked about it enough on this show. African-American, 33-year-old Marine Corps vet, a veteran just like you, who was a Georgia police officer who was murdered because of this nut job with the COVID vaccine disinformation. Boy, I wonder what party's been spreading that stuff for years. And Donald Trump hasn't even mentioned his name once. And they put the flags at half staff for Charlie Kirk. They don't put the flags at half staff after a shooting. Donald Trump said the other day he didn't even know this woman who was killed because she was a Democrat. Didn't even know it happened, which is a lie, by the way. And they don't even mention this guy, David Rose's name, who died a hero. For someone like you who served, this has to drive you crazy because it drives me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is nuts. You have every Democrat out there saying we need to turn the temperature down. We need to stop political violence. Both sides need to tone down the rhetoric, all this kind of stuff. And on the Republicans, you just hear it's all Democrats. Democrats are the only ones doing this. It's hardly anybody on the right. It's 90% Democrats, which of course, all the data, all the stats, everything, all the cases show That is not, in fact, the case. The vast majority of political violence has been committed by right-wingers, not left-wingers, but we're not even saying that. I mean, we weren't out there saying that. We were just saying both sides need to chill in the wake of this and learn something and take something from this, and hopefully we can stop this madness, but they don't want it. They don't want to have that argument. You can't hardly find a right winger or a Republican who will say both sides need to chill out and calm down with the rhetoric. You can't find them. They'll just say it's all Democrats. The only ones saying both sides need to chill are Democrats, and they're the ones who commit the minority of these incidents.
Such a good point you just made. You're right. I haven't heard any Republicans say that. It really is absolutely despicable and insane. I mean, where do we go from here, Ron? I said immediately after this shooting happened that this is not only bad, obviously, for the Kirk family and the kids that grow up without a father. Forget about politics. This is just really bad for the country. Are you in fear that there's going to be some sort of retribution?
I mean, there's always that possibility, of course. I think you have a big budget package probably going to be added to the continuing resolution for increased security. I mean, the Trump administration has put in for lots more security for all of their officials. The question is whether Mike Johnson and John Thune are going to do that for legislators as well, who are also want increased security. So I think everybody right now kind of has their head down and is, looking over their shoulder and being careful. And many of them have canceled their public events. They've canceled tours that they're going to go on. You think about the prospect of going on a tour like Kirk was about to go on, where you're for whether you're Democrat or Republican, where you're going to go into these arenas and you're going to meet with the public and people can just walk in. That's a dangerous proposition right now. I certainly would think twice about doing that, So, and I already never advertise when I'm going to a place. When I'm going to go to an event, sure, I would love to say to my 2 million social media followers, hey, I'm going to go to this political event today. But I don't do it because I feel like I'm putting everyone in danger if I do that, by going there, because I'm a potential target. I'm one of the most hated people on the right. So I don't do it. So everybody's just being very careful. What I'm really concerned about is the DOJ, is the threats. I mean, they continue to promise that they're going to go after organizations basically that organize protests. In other words, the groups the nonprofits that organize a lot of these protests and put out the emails and the signs and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if they start doing that, then we're going to a really dark place.
Unfortunately, I think we might be headed there. I guess my last question to you, Ron, is this. As you know, there's a lot of people across the country that have been fired, some of whom I would say probably deserved it. They said some horrible things on social media celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. But here's my issue. There are MAGA Republicans out there, even politicians right here in Las Vegas, who are seeking out these people, and they are literally contacting their employers and going out of their way to do this. So I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this. Obviously, if you represent a company and you're going on social media saying he deserved to die, or I've heard even worse things than that, then I think, for lack of a better term, you're not very smart. You're an idiot. You should keep that stuff to yourself. And I don't feel that way. But how do you feel about these Republicans who constantly over the years have talked about cancel culture, yet they're gloating and literally going out of their way? Even politicians are doing this, going out of their way to try to get people fired for comments they made about Charlie Kirk.
I have never seen, and I'm always been against the cancel culture. And I have had over the years lots of Democratic groups who, wanted me to get involved in that kind of stuff, to boycott different things, hey, Charlie Kirk or whoever, Don Jr. is going to be doing an event at this hotel. We need to contact the owner of the hotel and try and get him to cancel it. I have never done that. I have refused all requests to do that because I just don't believe in trying to do all that stuff. So I've never been in on that, but I have never seen an organized campaign like this one. where they literally, I think the latest I saw, because there's a whole group of them and they're coordinating, they have 60,000 names that they have compiled of people who supposedly posted things online, and they are actively searching, Kirk, they're doing all these searches, and they are calling, they have groups of people calling employers, emailing employers all day long to try and get every one of these 60,000 people fired. And I agree with you, like some of them said really horrible things and probably deserve to lose their jobs, but a lot of them didn't. A lot of them just quoted Charlie Kirk.
Right.
So quoting things that Charlie Kirk said is now like highly improper and inflammatory to these people, even though he actually said those things. And, other things like if just making like, well, I mean, I've seen some people get fired for just saying like, I'm not going to shed any tears over this. And,
right.
Oh, well, like, so sad, like, just kind of like not saying anything inflammatory, but just basically saying, hey, like no great loss to society. Right. I mean, that's kind of like some of the comments people have been fired for. What I say is careful what you wish for, because here's what we know is going to happen. Joe Biden or some other prominent Republican, there's a lot of them that are very old, Bernie Sanders, Nancy Pelosi, they're all in their 80s. They're going to start dying, I mean, hopefully natural causes, right? Or even let's say somebody ends up getting killed. Do we really believe that the right is not going to do this? I've seen them do it many times.
Right.
They're going to celebrate. They're going to post all kinds of, F that person. I hate that scumbag, glad that person's dead. They do it all the time. But they have now established this new standard. And the new standard is if you mock a politician or even a talk show host, a podcaster, when they die or they're killed, then you should lose your job. This is the new standard that they have set. So the interesting thing is going to be when that does happen, are there actually going to be Democratic groups that are going to do what they're doing right now? Compile all these names, call employers? I doubt it, but that's the standard that they've set. We'll see if they're going to live by that standard.
And Ron, isn't it ironic, for lack of a better term, if you recall, it was Charlie Kirk who was laughing and joking when Paul Pelosi was bludgeoned with a hammer and was almost killed. In fact, Charlie Kirk on his podcast, you probably saw this, was saying that when people donate to the attacker, that they'll be a hero to try to bail him out. Don't you find that ironic that Charlie Kirk was the guy that said that stuff? Charlie Kirk was the guy. Joe Biden deserved the death penalty.
Look, he said so many reprehensible things over the years that I have posted on social media, and he and I both followed each other. He and I both went at each other numerous times, But again, I chose not to bring those things up at this point in time because I just think there's like a time and a place for everything. But yeah, I mean, look, Donald Trump Jr. said the same thing about Pelosi, Paul Pelosi. So did Elon Musk. They all did. They all thought it was a big joke, and they were joking that, the guy was a male prostitute and Paul Pelosi's secret lover. And they were posting all that stuff. Donald Trump Jr. posted the hammer with the underwear that the guy was wearing as his Halloween costume that year. He's joking that was going to be his Halloween costume. He was going to dress as the assailant and bring a hammer with him out trick-or-treating with his kids. Right. So look, these people do this stuff all the time. So I get that, Charlie Kirk was very much friends with all these people and he was their hero and they liked him and he was a very big part of the movement. And by the way, I do think that turning point is going to fizzle out.
You do?
Because there's just nobody that can pick up the banner, even though I know his wife said she's going to try. His co-host said he's going to try. No, there are some people that you can't replace. And as much as I disliked him, he was very good at what he did. He's not replaceable at that, I don't believe.
I hate to ask you this, Ron, but I think I have to here because, I know you're a good guy and you take the high road, but I got to be honest with you. When I saw the video of his wife over his casket and then they're sending out these masks. Listen, I feel for her and her kids, right? Any compassionate person would. But Why are you sending mass text messages and putting out that video, which should be a private moment between you and your husband who's in a coffin? And why are you guys sending out mass text messages asking people for money when, they're worth tens of millions of dollars? Okay, they have a lot of money. I just found it to be so distasteful. I know she's grieving and she's hurting, and that part of me, I feel for her, but I just felt it was so distasteful, her words, and her actions over the course of the last several days.
Because their mentality is like they're seizing on an opportunity, and that's the way that they think. And it's an opportunity to go after the Democratic Party and to blame Democratic politicians. It's an opportunity to win elections. That's how they view it. That's how they're acting. That's how they're saying. Look, I have never been on the Charlie Kirk TPUSA email list ever. I've never gotten an email from them. I've gotten 50 emails from Erica Kirk over the last week. Like I'm getting like 5 a day. So they're fundraising the hell out of it, and they're using it to fit their political narrative. And that seems very bizarre. Yeah, I thought the open casket Instagram video was also very strange. I thought her speech that she gave was very strange. But, I guess if look, just take it like Charlie Kirk, his whole message to people was that he told everyone in college campuses, get married young, drop out of college, and have lots of kids at a very young age. She was 33 when she married him. He was younger. And she had her first kid at like 33, 34 years old. I mean, so, it's just another example of like what he's telling them to do is not what they were doing. They didn't have kids until, she was in her 30s. So they didn't get married young. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just the hypocrisy of the messaging. But again, on all of this stuff that we just talked about, I didn't say a word about it on social media. I didn't write about it because, again, like there's a time and a place. I imagine there'll be a time when we're going to hash out the legacy of Charlie Kirk as others are doing now. And I'll probably be involved in that, but it won't be for a little while.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I was right on the air when it happened, and I got emotional because I saw the video as I was on the air, and it was extremely difficult to watch that. And I got emotional. It was horrible. And certainly I wasn't celebrating at all. This is bad for America. It's bad for everybody. And I'm Ron, I'm with you. You're a good dude. And I know you take the high road with this stuff. Listen, I've said on the air, I don't think Charlie Kirk was a great guy, but he did not deserve this. He did not deserve this. His family did not deserve this. And one thing we all have in common, I think, with Charlie Kirk, I know you do, and I do, is political discourse and having conversation. That's the one thing about Charlie Kirk that I believe we have in common. He wanted the people that disagreed with him to be at the front of the line. And that's the part of Charlie Kirk I like.
Look, if we're going to say anything positive about, I mean, I'll give him a lot of credit for that, and I'll give him a lot of credit for going into a dangerous situation. I mean, going into a college campus, and I have seen him harassed, screamed at over the years, people get in his face, but he just kept going back for more, and so that takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage to go into a hostile environment like that and face people who don't like you and face, and go in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. Now, I don't really like always the way he conducted himself while doing that, but at the same time, like, I'll give it up to him. And I said, if you continue to go in front of crowds of people with not a big security team, no Secret Service, and you're constantly saying inflammatory things to them, that's a high risk job. So he was warned. I read many times, like, this is very dangerous what you're doing, and your number's going to run out eventually. And he was encouraged to beef up his security and hire more people, or to have like metal detectors and stricter, tighter controls. And he said, no. He said, I don't want to do that. I just want everybody to show up, and I'm going to take them all on. So that ultimately was his undoing. But I'll give him credit. He was courageous about that.
Yeah, no doubt. Ron, what do you got working on today on your Substack before we let you go?
Really just like all the Trump, Bondi, Patel, authoritarian threats. That's the theme of the day. I mean, Trump threatening the Australian journalist today.
Yeah.
Saying it, by her asking him about crypto, it was going to ruin their relationship between their countries. And he was going to tell the prime minister on her, just the authoritarian threats that are, it's a theme of the day. That's all we heard from Stephen Miller, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Donald Trump is threats, and intimidation towards the press, towards Democrats, towards everybody, towards foreign leaders, towards Zelensky. He said, talk shit about Zelensky again today. And that's what I'm writing about today, kind of weaving all that together and showing it in one big awful column.
I can't wait to read it. It's funny you mentioned that because I'm actually playing those clips when we come back from break with both of those reporters that Donald Trump was threatening. It's just an abomination.
Carl was the other one.
Yeah, who's a great reporter. I have a lot of respect for him, by the way.
One of the nicest guys out there.
Yes.
And he went after him, called him, all kinds of names and stuff, threatened to sue him.
Yep.
For what? For what? Daring to ask him, like, why are you getting $2 billion from UAE in your crypto business?
Yep. It's a good question.
Like, and how dare he ask that question, right?
Yeah, I met him in Vegas. Could not be a nicer guy. He said he watched a few of my videos, and I was honored to hear that. And I said, I think he is a great journalist. And the way Trump treated him today, and the way Trump has treated most journalists that ask, him difficult questions, it's all the same. He treats them all the same. Ron, keep up the great work, my friend. Love what you're doing. Can't wait to read your Substack later today, and we'll catch up with you next week, my friend. Thank you again for the time.
Okay, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you. That's Ron Filipkowski, everybody. One of the hardest working guys in the business, one of the smartest guys in the business, one of the most honest people in the business. And I'm very honored, and we're very lucky that we're able to get Ron on this show every week. He is just phenomenal, and taking the high road with the Charlie Kirk stuff, I really appreciate it. I'm going to tell a personal story before I take a break, and then we're going to have some mesmerizing audio to play for you. I'm going to tell this story really quickly, and then I'm going to take a break. So I went on social media a few days ago. Obviously, these are very emotional times that we are in. And I was the first not the first person, but the second I heard that Charlie Kirk was shot, my first thoughts were, I hope he's okay. I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't see the video. My first thought was shock and, gosh, I hope he's okay. And this is going to be terrible for the country. And then when I saw the shooting, my immediate reaction was he's not going to make it. And, it was immediately my first reaction was not to attack Charlie Kirk or celebrate, which I never would do, was to think about his kids. That's the first thing that I thought of. And I think most people are like that. But I've had a couple days to kind of digest, for lack of a better term, what's taken place. And as everybody knows, I'm a pretty honest person on and off the air. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Never have I celebrated his death. I never will. But I did go on social media and I did say, if you're one of those people that thinks Charlie Kirk was a great guy and his messaging was great, then I don't want to talk to you. Now, you can call into the radio show. What I meant by that is in my personal life. I don't want to hang out with you if you think Charlie Kirk was this wonderful person. He did not deserve to be murdered. I keep saying that over and over again. But I went on social media and I said that. I said, if you're one of those people that thinks Charlie Kirk was some sort of martyr or hero and he was this wonderful human being, which he wasn't, then I don't really want to talk to you. So a very prominent person who has done this radio show before, I'm not going to say who he is. He is a celebrity. I'm not going to say why or what he does because I'm not going to out him because it was a personal conversation. And he started texting me all day yesterday about my tweet. And he said, well, I'm just texting you to tell you, I guess we're not going to talk anymore because Charlie Kirk was a great guy and he was this and he was a martyr. And I said, I'm sad to hear that you feel that way about somebody who, said so many horrible things over the years. And by the way, I'm going to play you some of that audio when we come back. Some of the horrific things that Charlie Kirk has said about black people, what Charlie Kirk has said about transgenders, what Charlie Kirk has said about victims of crimes. It's endless. And I tried to explain to this person why I said what I said, because I want people in my life that don't wish harm to people. Sure, of course. But I also want people in my life that aren't bigots. I want people in my life that don't support bigots. I want people in my life that don't support horrible people. And we had a very long conversation. He is a very prominent person, not a political figure. I do know some prominent people, and maybe one day I will disclose who this person is, because at the end of the conversation, he actually was giving me some advice because he knows this is a very difficult job every day mentally. And he was actually being nice to me, even though we disagree about Charlie Kirk. But I was amazed that somebody that is so intelligent, this is somebody that I have a lot of respect for, who has done this show before, by the way. Again, not political, not a politician, who was defending Charlie Kirk and what he stood for. And it really mesmerized me. And I really didn't know how to handle it. I think I handled it the right way. And I said, listen, if you don't want to talk, that's cool. He said, no, I do want to talk to you, but I'm just responding to your tweet. And I said, well, listen, man, this is how I feel. You need to listen to the things that Charlie Kirk has said. And then he showed me a clip of Charlie Kirk being very respectful to somebody that happened to be transgender. And I said, listen, that's great. But just because somebody is nice in moments in their life isn't a justification for saying horrible things and judging people based on race or sexuality, which is what he did a lot. Just because he was nice to people in his life doesn't mean he's a great guy. He was not. And I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to lie. That's my opinion. It's horrible what happened to him. I feel for his family. I've been saying that nonstop since it happened because I feel that way. I'm not saying it because I fake it, but I don't believe he was a good person. And I believe he made money dividing us with hate speech, the type of speech that apparently Pam Bondi says they're going to go after people on. That's one thing Charlie Kirk and I agree on as well. Charlie Kirk said, and he believed, and he's tweeted this out, that it doesn't matter what you say, as long as you're not threatening people, that, ugly speech is protected by our First Amendment rights. So, that was the conversation I had with this guy yesterday. We're still going to be talking, but I'm certainly not going to listen to somebody preach to me about what a wonderful martyr and hero Charlie Kirk was. You know why? Because he wasn't. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Donald Trump is threatening reporters this morning. Yes, that's right. Kash Patel making him out to be the ass that he is. And Attorney General Pam Bondi wants to go after people because she might not like what they have to say. And I'm also going to play you some audio for the people out there that are listening right now that disagree with me, that think Charlie Kirk was this wonderful human being. Well, I have some audio that I'm going to play for you. Maybe it might change your mind. We'll take a quick break in 90 seconds. It's Pushing the Limits right here on K. All right, welcome back. It's Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. We just had Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch on. Always a pleasure having him on the show. Just a great guy, stand-up guy, very smart and really good, of course, at what he does. And listen, we're going to get back into the Charlie Kirk stuff. Emotions are very high right now in this country, and I'm very worried about where we're headed. I've said it before, and I'll say it again before we move on. Political violence can never, ever be condoned in this country. And for people out there that are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, I think you're wrong. But there is a way to call out the political violence and what happened to Charlie Kirk, and also call out Charlie Kirk for who he was. I'm not going to sit here and say that he deserves a medal, because he doesn't. I'm not going to sit here and say he deserved his casket to be flown on Air Force Two, because he didn't. And I'm not going to say that people out there should look at him as a martyr or a hero, because he wasn't. I'll get to that again in a moment. So Donald Trump did a press conference earlier this morning. He spoke to some reporters, and he was asked what I would consider to be challenging questions. Fair questions. There's an Australian reporter who asked him about his crypto business. We know with his crypto business, he's literally made billions of dollars during the presidency. But then he says, oh, my kids are doing all that stuff. No, Donald Trump is directly involved in that. And then he threatens the reporter. I want you to listen to this exchange with this reporter from Australia who asked a very fair question, and Donald Trump literally threatens him and says, oh, this is going to hurt the relationship between us and Australia. Listen to this.
It is appropriate, President Trump, that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone.
Well,
go ahead, John.
Maybe
you can set a nicer tone.
The UAE does a deal. What does it want in return?
Quiet.
Mr. President,
There you have a good reporter asking Donald Trump on a topic that he does not want to speak to. His crypto scandal, his Ponzi scheme, making his family billions of dollars as the president of the United States. He would not have been doing this if he wasn't president. And what does Donald Trump do? Oh, well, this could hurt the relationship between us and Australia. It has nothing to do with the relationship between us and Australia. It was a very logical and fair question that he asked. Good reporter. And Donald Trump does what he always does. When he doesn't like a question that holds him accountable, he attacks the reporter. Oh, where are you from? This is Donald Trump's playbook. Keep asking him about the crypto scandal. Keep asking him about the Epstein files. And as I spoke to Ron Filipkowski about earlier, another reporter, a very good one, asks Donald Trump about Pam Bondi saying she's going after hate speech, which is, by the way, a protection under our First Amendment. Listen to this exchange and Donald Trump threatening this reporter.
That'll come to a vote, but we'll see what happens.
and what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
She'll probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you. Look, we want everything to be...
Maybe they'll go after you only because this reporter asked him about free speech and hate speech and the comments that Pam Bondi said yesterday that, by the way, she has now since retracted. We will get to that in a moment. Do we realize how dangerous this is as a country? Where a reporter can't ask a politician a fair and question of accountability, because if you do, Donald Trump is going to threaten you, or the Attorney General is going to come after you, or MAGA Republicans are going to try to get you fired. Do we understand that we are living in a dictatorship? That is the President of the United States literally threatening a reporter for asking what was a very fair and honest question about his Attorney General, who made a very stupid statement yesterday saying she's going to go after people for hate speech. That's not how this country works. That's not what it says in our Constitution, that the DOJ and law enforcement cannot go after you if you say something that you or they don't like. That's not how this country works. But Donald Trump wants to threaten reporters for asking challenging questions and fair questions. It is despicable and it is disgusting. And it's insane. So if you want to know how that Patel hearing took place earlier today, I'll save you some time. It was nothing but a distraction and smokescreens from the beginning. And Patel was asked about, the Epstein files, and he actually put a little bit of Epstein in his statement. Nothing about what they're doing now, for the most part, but talking back to 2006. Listen to this garbage and distraction that Patel spewed to the American people today.
Now, I know that there's a lot of talk about Epstein, and I'm here to testify that the original sin in the Epstein case was the way it was initially brought by Mr. Acosta back in 2006. The original case involved a very limited search warrant or set of search warrants and didn't take as much investigatory material as it should have seized. If I were the FBI director then, it wouldn't have happened. The search warrants were limited to small time periods to include 2002 to 2005 and 1997 to 2001. Mr. Acosta allowed Epstein to enter in 2008 to a plea and non-prosecution agreement, which then the courts issued mandates and protective orders legally prohibiting anyone from ever seeing that material ever again without the permission of the court. The non-prosecution agreements also barred future prosecutions for those involved at that time of those individuals. Still, this administration, at the direction of President Trump, has done more to turn over all the credible information we are legally able to do so, and we will continue to work with Congress to achieve that end.
That's a lie. Patel is lying to the American people, and you see, he doesn't want to talk about how he handled it or how Bondi is handling it. If they wanted to today, they can release the overwhelming majority of the files. They could retract the victims' names. You wouldn't need a judge order on this, and they could do it. Patel is lying to you. They attempted to release less than 3% of the files, knowing that a judge would not allow it. But if they wanted to release everything and unseal everything and release it to the American people, they could do it right now. I think we all know the reason why they're not doing it, because they're all covering for Donald Trump. And then there's Bondi. You see, we've talked about this before with Attorney General Bondi, who is just awful at her job and will do anything for Donald Trump. Anything. Here's Bondi yesterday on a podcast, thinking that she's in a very safe place, saying for word that she's literally going to go after people with hate speech. No place, she says, especially after what happened to Charlie. So now apparently if somebody's on a public sidewalk and they're saying things about Charlie Kirk that Bondi doesn't like, the DOJ is going to go after you. I mean, it's totally against freedom of speech, our Constitution. This is exactly what Bondi said yesterday.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Did you hear what she just said? Guys, did you hear the words of Bondi? Now, she tried to retract it today and lied. I have her exact words here. She said there's free speech and then there's hate speech, and there is no place, especially now after what happened to Charlie. In our society, we will absolutely target you. Those are the words of Bondi. It's against our laws, our Constitution, freedom of speech, and everything we stand for, unless you live in a dictatorship, and apparently that's what they want. MAGA Republicans have been all about free speech and censorship for years. But now all of a sudden Bondi makes a statement like that. If she doesn't like what you're saying, they are going to target you. It's insane. It is absolutely and abundantly disgusting. I don't agree with what a lot of people say. I don't agree with people when they celebrate what happened to Charlie Kirk. I disagree with them. Now, them getting fired from a job is up to the employer. That has nothing to do with the law. But basically what Pam Bondi is saying is if you are on social media or you're on a public sidewalk and you're holding up a sign celebrating what happened to Charlie Kirk, which, by the way, I would never condone, that legally they're going to go after you. So I guess we don't have freedom of speech anymore. I guess they could throw out the First Amendment right out the door. That's what Pam Bondi said. Doesn't that concern all of you? We can disagree with what people say, but it doesn't mean that people should be targeted by the DOJ because they might not like politically what somebody is saying. I'm not talking about threatening somebody, and she wasn't talking about either. Obviously, threats are against the law. Incitement of violence is against the law, and I'm totally good with that. But if you hold up a sign on the sidewalk that say, I believe Charlie Kirk deserved it, which, again, I don't condone that sort of verbiage, but Pam Bondi is saying they're going to go after you legally. That somehow that's breaking the law, which, by the way, it's not. We all should be concerned about this. And listen, I said this the day it happened to Charlie Kirk. I've said it every single day to all my friends, to even people that I disagree with. That day was a horrible day for the country. I certainly feel for his kids that are going to be growing up without a father, which I think is horrible. But I've also been honest on the air. And I've said a lot of the things Charlie Kirk has said were misogynistic, racist, disgusting. And I've said that I believe Charlie Kirk capitalized off of that and made a lot of money off of hate speech. I never said he deserved to be arrested. I never said that any of this he deserved. But there's a lot of people that are very complicit, that are Charlie Kirk fans, that have called me a liar. There's a lot of people out there that are MAGA supporters, even our own Vice President J.D. Vance, and many others who think he's some sort of martyr or hero, and they say the left is lying. He never said those things. You're taking it out of context. Well, let's put an end to that conversation right now. This is a little bit of a mix, for lack of a better term, of words that Charlie Kirk has said over the course of just the last few years that I want everybody to listen to and then tell me if I'm lying. Have a listen to this.
These blacks trying to go rob her, happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact. Black crime is a major issue in our country. Why are you pushing criminal justice reform exactly? Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson, they're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Now, the southern border is, of course, the great replacement. They're trying to replace us demographically. They're trying to make the country less white. It is an anti-white agenda. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Taylor Swift is now engaged to Travis Kelce. This is something that I hope will make Taylor Swift more conservative. Reject feminism. Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge.
America was at its peak when we halted immigration for 40 years and we dropped our foreign-born percentage to its lowest level ever.
Miss Rachel, you quote Leviticus 19, love your neighbor as yourself. The chapter before affirms God's perfect law when it comes to sexual matters. In Leviticus 18 is that thou shalt lay with another man shall be stoned to death. Can we get that picture up, Ryan, of that Marvel's Avenger team? Now, I don't know who the person is on the left. Is the person on the left that came and did the interview with Joe? The TikTok? Your government is being run by freaks. It's like immediately I have like a flashback to a country where weren't able to do Bud Light commercials. What does being trans even mean? Is that even a real thing? It means you need therapy. We must ban trans-affirming care the entire country. I do think that there is a direct correlation between someone's testosterone and their politics. On young men, the lower their testosterone, the more likely they are to be Democratic.
So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth and she would, no, wait, oh, and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, Would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered. When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Why is that?
So I'm sorry, are you trying to say that blacks thrive under subjugation?
No, I'm not. I'm saying I'm asking you the question. The data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed.
I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration.
Blacks were better in the 1940s, he said. Is there any black person that would agree with that? He said Michelle Obama, nobody takes her seriously. She doesn't have the brain capacity. A brilliant woman. By the way, Charlie Kirk dropped out of college after a semester. I can go on and on with how despicable so many of those comments are. Now, it wasn't against the law. He had the legal right to say them. I never called out somebody to put handcuffs on him or arrest him the way Pam Bondi is doing now. He had the right to say what he said because we have something called freedom of speech in this country. It's disgusting what happened to him last week. I feel for his family. I'm a normal, compassionate person. I would never condone violence. But for anybody out there who wants to say that that's a good man, is there anybody out there that still wants to defend him and defend those comments? By the way, we're not taken out of context. Those are his own words. And I didn't even include the stuff he said about Paul Pelosi when Paul Pelosi was attacked. And there's plenty of other comments. But we put together just 3 minutes. You could put together a plethora, hours of horrible things that he has said. Those are just a few. How can you support that stuff? How can you call that person a hero? He attacked black people. He attacked trans people. He attacked homosexuals. He basically attacked anybody if they weren't white Christian nationalists. And we're supposed to honor that person? He said disparaging things about Martin Luther King Jr. What human being, let me ask you all a question before I open up the phone lines. What human being is not racist that would say blacks were better off in the 1940s? Just throwing that out there. I can defend my opinions. It was horrible what happened to him. Violence should never be condoned, especially political violence, but this was not a good person. He was a misogynist, he was a racist, and he made money off of dividing people and spreading hate, period. Doesn't mean he deserved what happened to him. There could be two that could be true at the same time. We can show compassion, and we can be decent human beings, but also call out the person that he was. And that is what I have done, and I will continue to defend that. The number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE. If you disagree with me and you think Charlie Kirk was a great guy, by all means, I'll hear you out. But we're going to be respectful. I don't want to hear people saying he deserved it. I'm not going to tolerate that sort of stuff. But disagree with him, dislike what he stood for, there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, Jamie Lee Curtis is being attacked by the left, and I disagree with what the left is doing. If you hadn't heard it already, it was on TMZ. Jamie Lee Curtis is a Christian woman, and she got emotional, and she said, I disagree with everything that Charlie Kirk stood for, but he did not deserve this. He did not deserve this. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what she said. What is wrong with that comment? Can you please explain to me what is wrong with that? Let's start off with Dave. He's calling out of California. Hello, Dave.
So, Brian, what's going on?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, I like the guy. No, I don't like the guy. I don't even listen to his show at all. So I really don't care about. I don't even listen to the guy at all. So I was actually watching the video live, but I didn't know what happened afterwards because I actually changed the. I changed the channel from the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So, but, I'm going to be honest with you, and there's 2 points I want to make. One, these people were tricked and deceived, and they were sold a bill of goods You know what I'm saying? These people that voted for Trump. They were basically swindled in accepting a bad deal by voting for this guy. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's get that out. So these people are going to be deceived for the rest of their life. And what about the guy from Alex Jones? Why did it take the people, the family, to basically sue him for defamation lawsuit against him after repeatedly falsely claiming the 2012 school shooting that was
that's important. So this is really important
that I wanted to bring up.
This is really important that you bring that up, because there is a difference between free speech and then saying things that can harm people. Example, when Alex Jones threw out those conspiracy theories about what took place at Sandy Hook, the family members who lost their children were getting threats, and it affected their life. It affected their livelihood. If it's not bad enough grieving the loss of your young son or daughter, your child, the things that Alex Jones said put them in harm's way. And if you can prove that in a court of law, then you can win. And they did. And Alex Jones is a despicable human being. I've had Alex Jones' ex-wife on the show before. He was he was a terrible person.
The juries awarded the families nearly $1.5 billion in damages.
Right.
1.5 billion.
Correct.
And here's the thing about, Charles, it's not so much him. How, as the kids get older and they grow up, they're going to find out sooner or later. Hopefully they don't want to, they're going to find out sooner or later how their father passed away.
Well, sadly, I agree with you, Dave. And I appreciate your call. Yes, eventually they will find out, and they will probably learn a lot more about their dad. And I wish his kids the best. It's sad that they're going to be growing up without a father. That's terrible. But make no mistake about it. I just played you just some of those audio clips, and he said a lot of horrible things. Said a lot of divisive things. Said a lot of racist things, misogynist things, terrible things. And I don't want to hear the excuse from people that say, oh, Brian, you've said some terrible things too. I've never made a racist statement in my life. I've never attacked somebody because of their sexuality. But Charlie Kirk made a living in doing so. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next up on PTL. Hello, Ray.
Hi, how you doing, Brian?
Good. What's on your mind today?
I'm pretty excited to be on here. I'm a big fan. I've watched you on YouTube. I just want to say hello to Dave too, because I have a very similar ideal as him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a little information about myself, just so you understand my demographic. I'm a Hispanic male. I'm also a United States Marine Corps veteran.
Thank you for your service.
I'm a 26-year veteran of the police department
mm-hmm.
In the city of Newark and Essex County.
Can I ask you a question about that? And thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your service. You are what I would call a hero. I'm wondering how it made you feel when you had a bunch of service members carrying Charlie Kirk's casket in and out of Air Force 2. You're someone who served this country honorably. And I would say, and I think you would agree with me, there are a lot of service members who risked it all and lost their life that weren't treated as kindly as they treated Charlie Kirk's body. What do you make of that?
Well, I feel absolute outrage because I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was an intelligence analyst, and we were taught about propaganda. And during the Gulf War, I had to learn about Islam because knowing your enemy type of thing. And with that type of background, for years, for the last 10 to 12 years, I've watched this man that they call Daddy Trump come from under a rock and basically poison the minds. He's the individual poisoning the minds of Americans, where we, the people like myself, that I believe that we want to be sensible and believe in our government, and to see so many people turned by this individual and so many people that just fall in line with what he believes, and seeing my own friends and some of my colleagues fall under that spell, it's been terrifying.
It is terrifying, isn't it? And, listen, everybody has a different definition of what a hero is. And I'm sure you're a very modest guy, but somebody like you, a police officer, a firefighter, someone who served the country honorably, that risked their life, right? Somebody who goes out of their way to save somebody else's life, knowing that it could risk their own. To me, that's what a hero truly is. And I feel like there's a lot of people on the right that are throwing that word around when it comes to Charlie Kirk, when Charlie Kirk made tens of millions of dollars spreading hatred. I think that's the opposite of a hero. I know what a hero is. And even though I dislike J.D. Vance, I can't stand the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, I would never attack their military service. In fact, it's honorable. Anybody who serves this country, no matter what their political beliefs are. And for example, when Donald Trump said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured, what a despicable statement from a draft dodger himself. To me, that's what a true hero is. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. You know, I was a big King fan, and I lost faith in him when he chose Sarah Palin as his running mate.
That was a bad choice. I believe Sarah Palin cost him the election.
And I believed in what he did, and I voted for him on both elections.
Yeah.
And I will say this, it was the first time I actually voted, really voted. I mean, I did vote for, I'm from the generation of Bush was my commander-in-chief.
Sure.
And,
no, absolutely. Well, let me say this, sir, again. Thank you for your service to this great nation. You are a hero. And let me be very clear. You are not a sucker. You are not a loser. You are a hero. You're somebody that should be treated with dignity and respect, not somebody who spread hate for most of his life. You are a true hero. You are a true American. And I'm honored that you listen to the show. Call back anytime, sir, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. Courtney's next. Hey, Courtney, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. As a Black woman, this has been an extremely disturbing week. The lionization of this racist, misogynist has been completely ridiculous. I don't support what happened to Charlie Kirk, but he would have supported what happened to Charlie Kirk. If the same thing had happened to a Black leader or Obama or a Democrat or someone else, he would have been making all kinds of
I have an example.
I
have an example which proves what you are saying is true. Paul Pelosi was bludgeoned with a hammer. He almost lost his life. It was an attempted murder. And what did Charlie Kirk do on his podcast the next day? There's video and audio of this. He laughed about it. He made jokes about it. And he called on his listeners to donate money to the attacker. He never apologized for his remarks. In fact, he gloated when Paul Pelosi was attacked. Listen, I'm not even a big Nancy Pelosi fan. But so what? It was a horrible attack, political violence. Charlie Kirk was the victim of political violence. Paul Pelosi was the victim of political violence. Have you seen any prominent Democrats, any politicians? I don't think anybody could name me one that has laughed or joked about what happened to Charlie Kirk, because it would be wrong. Every single top politician on the left has called out political violence and has called the temperature to be gone down on both sides. And all Republicans have done over the course of the last week is blame the left. The radical left. They don't take any responsibility of their own. So yes, I agree with you.
And the fact that the guy that did it was an alt-right groper. It was Nick Fuentes and Laura Loomer's post about Charlie that likely got Charlie killed.
So Courtney, that could be
calling him a traitor.
So Courtney, that could very well be possible. But here's the mind frame that I am in right now. It shouldn't matter whether it's somebody on the right or the left. Who cares? What I care about is political violence should be called out either side. And that is what Democrats...
No, I was saying that because you were saying...
No, I understand.
I was saying that to say that they're blaming us. And it's it has nothing to do with any Democrats.
So listen, I completely agree with you on that. I agree with what you're saying. And I guess my point is it shouldn't happen whether it's on the left or the right. It shouldn't.
No, I agree with you there.
But you're right.
But then I also feel like, I feel like as Black people, we are being made to feel like we're supposed to mourn someone that absolutely hated us, said that we were all stupid, claimed that we were better and when we were enslaved because we weren't all criminals there. So while I thought it was sad what happened to him, I'm not sitting here feeling real bad about it. I care more about the fact that a Black man was just lynched on Monday in Mississippi. No one's talking about Trey Reed.
Yeah, that's true. And I also talked about the fallen officer who sadly lost his life, who was a veteran because of some nut job who was an anti-COVID vaccine idiot And this officer who was a hero, very young, in his early 30s, lost his life. And I've talked about it multiple times. I talked about it earlier today. It's funny how Donald Trump probably doesn't even know about it. And he certainly won't put the flags at half staff for that, but he'll put the flags at half staff for somebody like Charlie Kirk. My dear, I agree with everything you just said, and I'm on board with it. And I appreciate your phone call. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next. Hi, Joseph.
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
All right. Here's my piece. Hearing the previous callers makes me say they're right about Charlie Kirk, that he does not deserve to have any half-staff flags, and not even, let alone that, he doesn't deserve to have a military burial. I mean, come on. This is a guy who spreads hatred towards other people. He hates blacks. He even hates Hispanics and others. But me personally, I agree with those other previous callers, like the one with the Marine.
Yeah.
He was a true hero. He was a true hero and a patriot, not a sucker and a loser. And everything about, not to mention about how they wanted to erase history about Martin Luther King and all the other stuff, including George Floyd.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because after the whole George Floyd incident, and Republicans still do this to this very day, Michael Dalton Knowles, who I think is a complete imbecile, did this when I was on the Piers Morgan show with Knowles, and he, making the case that George Floyd died of an overdose, which obviously is not the case because there were two autopsies that took place that said it was homicide. And some of those same people are saying that, like the Ben Shapiros of the world, that are saying that Derek Chauvin should be pardoned, Joseph. And these are also the same people that are calling Charlie Kirk a martyr. I think most of us can connect the two. It's insane. I will be getting to the YouTube Super Chat in a few moments here. I want to get to some more phone calls. Let's go to Terry. Terry's next on PTL. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Brian. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I've been reflecting on this as you have for several days. And I feel like every time, and I listen to all of those, comments that Kirk made, every time he spoke racist, misogynistic stuff and hateful words, he's basically writing a permission slip for someone to commit acts of violence. I mean, I see that as a problem. And I also was very concerned when I heard Trump make that comment that he wants to have Bondi persecuting people that treats him so unfairly.
It's ridiculous.
That's very
very
concerning.
It's against everything that these MAGA Republicans claim that they fight for, which is freedom of speech and against censorship. Everything that they have been fighting for, as long as it's Donald Trump that says something, they'll go along with it, even if it's against any of the principles, if they even have any. It's absolutely ridiculous, Terry, and it's embarrassing.
It is. And I can tell you right now, I'm taking a different permission slip from this whole thing, that I'm going to continue to go to protests. I'm going to write and deliver speeches at those events. And it's because I feel like it's my civic duty.
I think that's commendable.
At this point, we cannot stay silent. We have to have our voices heard. Mm-hmm. And it's on us because obviously we have, in terms of our government right now, the Democrats don't really have much power to do anything. So we have to be out there and keep having our voices heard.
I agree, Terry. And that's why I do this show, so people like you can have your voices heard. And I really do appreciate hearing from you, Terry. It's good to hear from you. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283. Listen, if you're a MAGA supporter or a Trump supporter and you were a Charlie Kirk fan, I really want to hear from you. One of the things that I have in common with Charlie Kirk, and it might be the only thing, is political discourse and having good spirited debate. I like that. So if you're a Charlie Kirk fan or you disagree with me on anything, what I've said on the show today, I want to hear from you. If you're a MAGA supporter, if you're a Charlie Kirk, if you think Charlie Kirk deserves the Medal of Freedom, if you think Charlie Kirk deserves to be treated like a fallen soldier, I want you to tell me why. The number to call is 702-221-SAVE. 702-221-7283. MAGA callers are always welcome. Let's go to Don. Don is next up on PTL. Hello, Don. Hi, Don. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, I just got a question. How many jobs have you called to try to get people fired from? speaking of free speech.
How many jobs have I called to try to get people fired from?
How many?
I can, and I think I know who this is, and this is not Don. I actually know who this person's real name is, and this is somebody who made threats against me. Let me be very clear. That person is banned from calling the show. And when you threaten somebody, that is taking it to another level. So here's what I will say in regards to that, to the imbecile who just called into the show who's obsessed with me. When you make threats towards people, your job should know about it, and the authorities should know about it, and you should file a police report. We're not talking about somebody that threatens people. We're talking about somebody that makes comments not liking somebody or celebrating in someone's loss of life, which, by the way, I don't condone. So for the moron who just called into the show, who pleasures himself to me every night, who is obsessed with me, get a life. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Shirley. There's some people that are obsessed with you, ladies and gentlemen. What can I say? Shirley, what's going on?
Hey, it's kind of sad that what happened to Charlie. But didn't he say that some people have to die, like with gun violence, you know, so they could protect the Second Amendment? And I think it's sad that he died that way. But he was a terrible person, and he said a lot of bad things. But that thing stuck with me. He died by gun. He was the person saying that, you know, he said that he was killed by his own words, if you ask me.
Well, it is ironic that in the last few moments of Charlie Kirk's life, he was talking about transgenders. And then when asked about all the violence in this country, he brought up gang violence because he wanted to make the case that it's only black people that commit crimes with weapons. So I did find it very ironic that those were basically the last words that came out of his mouth.
Well, I saw an interview where a young man said somebody called him the N-word, and Charlie asked him if he reported it, and he basically said no. And Charlie said, well, I don't believe you. I mean, you know, if somebody call you the N-word, you supposed to run and tell somebody, you know, what are they going to do about that? That's just somebody that, you know, what can I say? But Charlie said he didn't believe him. And I thought, well, my God, who would want to stand and debate him on anything? Because he has his own, you know, he thinks the way he wants to think, and nothing you could say could change that, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm not going to sit here and say that this man deserves any Medal of Freedom or deserves to be treated honorably. Before I get back to the calls, and thank you for the call, my dear, I do want to go to the YouTube super chat real quickly if I can. This is for people, you know, if your questions and comments will be read live on the air. And the other disgusted veteran says, I'm a retired disabled veteran myself, and people like me have more than earned the right to say what we want. IDGAF, what Bondi said. Come and get me. Well, I can understand why you would have that attitude, my friend. You're the type of person, especially somebody like you, have the right to a freedom of speech because you fought for us all to do the same. Trey Reed needs to be covered. I agree with you, Nancy. We're probably going to do a little bit more about Trey Reed tomorrow. It's a horrible tragedy and a hate crime, and we will certainly be discussing that. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Again, if you're a MAGA supporter, you know, if you're somebody that believes Charlie Kirk was this wonderful guy, I want to hear from you. I want you to tell me why. I really do. And I'm being genuine when I say that. Let's go. Let's see. Let's go to Lucky Dragon. Lucky Dragon is next up on PTL. Luck Dragon, what's going on?
Hey, what's up? So I just want to make it clear. We need to stop focusing on the left and the right, and we need to literally think about the children. All right? So what about the children? Do you realize there's like 1,000, tens of thousands children that are losing their like loved ones and parents every day in Gaza, and we're still talking about this man? Can we just focus? Thank you.
You don't think that we should be talking about political violence and the temperature that is?
No, I
risen in this
think we should be focused on the children and how they should not literally grow up to be like their father.
Well, I hope they don't.
That is what I'm focused on.
I hope they don't, but I have a feeling that they might, and I hope we're both wrong on that, but I can understand why you would have that concern. I get that. Shelly in the YouTube super chat says, didn't like Charlie Kirk but people should not celebrate. It could be someone else the next time if we don't turn down the temperature, and Trump is not going to do that. Pam Bondi, pound sand. Yeah, well, Pam Bondi's comments yesterday were absolutely atrocious. Again, if you are a Donald Trump supporter, or if you are or happen to be a Charlie Kirk supporter, I want to hear from you. I want to know why you liked Charlie Kirk so much. I want to know why you think he's a martyr or a hero, because I disagree with you, but I want to have that discussion. In fact, I think Charlie Kirk would want people to have that discussion and have open dialogue as well. Like I said, it's one of the few things that I had in common with Charlie Kirk. And trust me, I didn't have much in common with him. The number to call again is 702-221-7283, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Julie. Julie is next. Hello, Julie.
Hi, Brian. Hey, so I'm not going to be that MAGA person that you want to talk to, but I am a mother. And, I was a single mother. I paid for my son's college tuition by myself. It wasn't easy. It was hard. But I didn't send my son to go to school at a college campus and hear these kind of hateful speeches.
Right.
And here's the thing is they don't even have fully developed frontal lobes, They don't. They're impressionable, but they go to expand their minds and to learn. And the problem that I have is that we're sending these kids and they're hearing these speeches. And in these speeches, they're hearing other people cheer and they want to be a part of. Yeah. And that's a major problem, especially since 2020, since the pandemic.
I agree. There's a lot of white anger in this country. And usually this comes from young white people, like the person who committed this horrible crime and executed Charlie Kirk. There's a lot of white anger in this country. And I hear Democrats all over the place saying we need to lower, the temperature and stop the hateful rhetoric. Democrats, at least in the last week, in my opinion, elected officials have all been saying the right things. And all I hear from the right is this is the left's fault. And this is all the left, blah, 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 blah. And first of all, it's just not true. If you look at the statistics from the FBI, they would tell you that far-right extremists commit far more crimes and political crimes than people on the left do. And it's the people on the left that are literally saying, lower the temperature on both sides. It's incredible. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Gary. He's calling from Kentucky. Hi, Gary. What's going on?
You keep talking about Charlie Kirk's children, and I feel for him too. But I'm trying to look at maybe a bright side of it. Hopefully their mother will marry a man that will be a better role model for them.
Well, I doubt that. I hear why you would say that, but I doubt that because from my understanding, Charlie Kirk's wife is even far more
worse than he is.
Right, exactly. Far more to the right than he is. So I would hope that as well. And
I'm hoping for a miracle.
Well, I would hope so as well, because their children obviously deserve to be raised by a father. But at the same time, I would say that is extremely doubtful. And I also add, and I only speak truth here, that Charlie Kirk's wife is grifting. Okay.
Yeah.
Days after,
she's a trumper.
Days after she lost her husband, which is horrible, she decided to ask people for money, and mass texts were sent all over the country. I find that extremely distasteful. And what she did with the video over that coffin should have been a private moment. Extremely.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That was sickening, wasn't it?
I think, that's the word that I would use as well. I just listen, I'm sorry she's going through this grief, but, people that ask for money after they lose a loved one are usually people that can't even afford to bury their spouse. That is not the case here. They are worth tens of millions of dollars. They are going to be just fine. But that money is funneling to Charlie Kirk's wife, and I find it utterly despicable. I'm sorry she's having to go through this stuff, my friend. I appreciate you calling from Kentucky, Gary. I'm glad that there are good people out there in Kentucky. That seems to be Trump country, but I'm glad there are more Garys out there, so that's good to know. Let's go to the UK now. Let's go to Paul. Paul, what's going on?
Hey, hi there, Brian. Thanks for taking the call. Just on a slightly, it's not a tangent, but it's something I think everybody in America has to be aware of. Obviously, the Charlie Kirk thing is a uniquely personal thing to America. But what I've observed over the last 10 years, the Republicans are very good at playing a long game here. And while all this is going on, even while the Epstein files are going on, Donald Trump is planning to cancel the midterms. And that's the real thing that scares me.
Yeah.
He's thinking he knows he can't win fair and square. That means he's going to have to play it not fair and square. And his best route is to create some kind of political emergency, say the streets are run with rioters, and cancel the midterms. He even hinted at it to Zelensky when he made his little snide joke about, oh, you don't have elections. And I'm very, very concerned because as much as I'm certain the Democrats would win maybe 40, 60 seats, I'm also certain that Trump, in his tiny vestigial brain, knows this. And also knows that Trump's philosophy is this: if you can't win, cheat. If you can't cheat, say they cheated. So he's on the cheat phase at the moment. So I think he's going to try and cancel the midterms. And I think all you guys, all you people who value the democracy in America, which is slowly fading, need to take note of this.
Did we lose you? That call was just starting to get good. Paul, you can call back anytime, my friend. We lost the connection there. My apologies. Maybe let's blame the left for that. Let's blame George Soros. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Steve. Steve is next. What's up, Steve?
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
The way things are going, I'm old enough to remember when Reagan came in office and he eased up on the truth in reporting as far as the networks and all that stuff. And we ended up with all these extremist talk shows on radios and on TV. And Fox News came about. And we need to get that truth in reporting back again. So these people are all accountable. They can lose their licenses and all that stuff. I don't know what you think, but there's so much hate going on right now, and it's driven by all these extremist networks.
Well, listen, we've had political violence, sadly, in this country. We remember what happened to John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan. We've had some horrible moments in history because there's always going to be crazy people out there. However, I feel like the temperature has risen the highest it's been in a very long time right now. And I'm very concerned.
Right.
Yeah, I'm very concerned. And I don't know where we go from here other than to call out political violence for what it is, no matter who the person is that is the victim. It's academic to the point of we cannot ever condone political violence or violence in general in any way, shape, or form. But that also doesn't mean that I'm going to be hanging up a bunch of Charlie Kirk posters on my wall in the place I live either. I know who Charlie Kirk was. I've met Charlie Kirk before. I know who he is, and I know what he represented, and I disagree with everything that he stood for, except for maybe political discourse and conversation. That's the only thing maybe I had in common with him, but that's it.
I understand that, but you also have like this one guy in the morning on Fox talking about killing homeless people.
Well, that's just
And,
that's abhorrent. I mean, that's absolutely disgusting. And I heard that as well. I mean, some of these people on Fox Noise are just despicable. But you know what? Democrats aren't saying, we're going to arrest you, we're going to come after you. No, but that's what Pam Bondi is saying if she doesn't like the message put forth by certain people on the left. It's despicable, it's disgusting, and that should concern us all. Let's go to Paul, who's calling us back from the UK. We had a little bit of an interruption there. What's up, Paul?
Yeah, hi there, but I'm sorry. I don't know where I got cut off.
It's okay.
I was monologuing away. And I think the gist of what I was saying is I'm so concerned because I'm quite certain that Donald Trump it will be engineering to cancel the midterms. That's what I was going to say. I'm no doubt about it. He knows he can't win.
But it's not just, canceling victims, say in the Epstein files, for example. It's literally about canceling everybody that disagrees with him. He wants people fired. He wants media. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Cancel. I mean, it must be the line. Canceling the midterm elections is what I think he's going to do.
It's possible. I'm not going to say that's not plausible. Anything is possible, but it's Donald Trump and Pam Bondi have made it very clear. If they don't like the questions you ask them, if they don't like your messaging, they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the First Amendment. They are going to go after you. It is a mob boss mentality. We all should be concerned about this. And for all the MAGA Republicans out there that have been preaching for years, for decades about freedom of speech and censorship, where are you now? Donald Trump's own attorney general said they're going to go after you if they don't like what you say. I mean, where is everybody? Where are all these MAGA Republicans now? The hypocrisy is insane.
But they've shifted. The Republican Party it's like going down a slippery slope. You can't stop running. They started off thinking they could control Donald Trump and he was a bit of a buffoon, but it would be okay. And before they knew it, they were running down that. They couldn't stop running. They can't stop anymore. They're stuck. They're stuck with this guy. He's the turd on their foot. You can't get rid of the smell. They're stuck with the guy. They can't stop anymore. It doesn't matter what he does, they're going to go along with it. And it really terrifies me to see this. And I think what Gavin Newsom did with his mocking him with the tweets was very interesting because he was basically saying this is how you used to react to somebody acting like this buffoon. And that's what he did. He should put a mirror in everybody's face, the GOP in particular, and said, look, you're offended that a person like me is doing this, and you should be offended, except you're not offended by your leader.
Many of them are not offended by the leader at all, Paul. I appreciate your call. Why is it that so many people out there are so obsessed, whether it's somebody on the left or the right? I've said this a million times. If you beat a police officer on January 6th, you're certainly not a hostage and a patriot. You deserve to go to jail. If you broke the law during Black Lives Matter's protest, then you should be held to the highest extent of the law either. Why can't people call both sides out? Now, the difference, though, is that the Black Lives Matter protest, there were tens of millions of people that were protesting for equality. And on January 6th, there were a bunch of bozos that were protesting there because they believed Donald Trump and the big lie that the election was stolen. I would certainly distinguish the two very differently. Let's go to Cornell. Cornell is next up on PTL. Hello, Cornell.
Hey, hello, Brian. How you doing today?
Good.
Listen, I've been listening to you for a while, man. I just want to tell you that you do a fantastic show, and it keeps me very censored and in a very chaotic country right now. But I just wanted to make a couple of comments that, it's so crazy to me that Charlie Kirk was this man who believed so strongly in using and defending his First Amendment right. He used it, to express and to invite controversial and differing opinions that pissed a lot of people off. But his followers cheered him on throughout all of these years. They didn't care that his words hurt other people, but now that his followers, are experiencing his death, they're upset that, the ones that he pissed off are exercising their First Amendment right to express their controversial and differing opinions. And now those words are hurting them. And don't get me wrong, I'm not celebrating his death. I wish his children well, but everyone was not a fan of Charlie Kirk. I know people in my circle who didn't even know who he was until he died. And so people are not obligated to feel any one specific type of way about his life or his death. I think it's very ironic that all of this outrage is coming from people who a few months ago were gleefully cheering on the prospect of immigrants being eaten up by alligators. And now they have all of this a sudden, pour of outrage about somebody else's,
where is their outrage? Where is their outrage when all of these children are getting massacred in schools? Where was their outrage? All I hear from them is thoughts and prayers. Were they asking for the flag to go down to half-mast then? Where is the outrage when all these
not.
innocent people are losing their lives? Where is the outrage when a black police officer is murdered in broad daylight because some nut anti-vaccine Trump supporter was going in there to attack people, and that man risked his life and he lost his life, and he was an honorable man who served the country, but Donald Trump doesn't even know his name. Why is it that they don't want to talk about these issues, but they want to obsess about that? Or Fox News 24/7 wants to roll the tape of black people committing crimes 24/7, but their dear 34-count convicted felon leader, oh no, we can't say anything bad about him. It's such hypocrisy. And it's such a joke.
Right.
I don't care whether
It's
somebody on the left,
all day.
I don't care whether somebody on the left or somebody on the right commits a horrible crime. A horrible crime is a horrible crime, and I want you held to the highest extent of the law, and I want to help prevent these things from happening again. But you're not hearing any of that from MAGA Republicans. All they want to do is blame the left. This was a crazy lefty lunatic. Let's blame transgenders. Let's blame the left. They never wanted to. They didn't take responsibility for January 6th. They called it a tourist visit, and Donald Trump called those people who beat police officers hostages and patriots. What if somebody on the left, and by the way, I would not condone this in any way, shape, or form, but can you imagine if an elected official on the left called the alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk a hostage and a patriot? They would lose their minds, and rightfully so.
No, absolutely,
rightfully so. But yet it's okay for Donald Trump to call them hostages and patriots. They don't have a problem with that. It's a joke.
Not at all.
It's a joke.
No, they have a problem with absolutely nothing that he does. I mean, absolutely nothing. He's never been held accountable for. I mean, for one thing, and I think that's the thing that just pisses me off the most and gets me so riled up. He never is held accountable. He's for anything.
You know why?
From
you know why?
one.
He's had yes people around him his entire life. He's never respected. He's never respected the rule of law. Way before he ran for office. Way before he ran for office, he never respected the rule of law. This is a guy that was given everything on a. He was given everything on a silver platter.
Absolutely, and that he was even sued for racial discrimination back as long before he even thought about it.
Thousands of
controversial.
Thousands of discrimination lawsuits he had to pay out because he didn't want black people living in his complexes in Manhattan.
Absolutely.
This is the guy who put out a page in the New York Times. He put out a page in the New York
system in place.
He put out a page in the New York Times on the Central Park Five saying that they deserved the death penalty. And then when it was proven that they were innocent through DNA and they were released, Donald Trump not only didn't apologize, but he doubled down on it because Donald Trump is a despicable human being. And ladies and gentlemen, I call it like it is on this show. I appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you very much. Let's go to Matthew. Matthew is next on PTL. What's up, Matthew?
Good afternoon, Brian. How you doing, sir?
Good. What's on your mind?
Okay, Brian, I have several quick points here. First and foremost, Charlie Kirk was a very terrible, bad human being. He was racist, he was misogynist, and his messages was dark, insidious, and very evil. Out here where I live at in Crystal City, Missouri, they're going to be holding a vigil for him at the church that's just right around the corner from me. But I feel like that the media is portraying him to be some type of a martyr, so to speak. And also, I would have to say, I agreed with you when you said, when you was on your show a couple days ago about ending the political violence. I agree with you that the political violence needs to end. And for years, all I saw was the Republicans, before they became MAGA, take everything away. But if we want the political violence to end, it has to start at the executive branch of the United States.
And it won't. It won't. Donald Trump is the worst guy to be the president at a time when we're facing all this stuff. He inflames it worse. He pours gasoline on fire. He blames the radical left. All the president would have had to have done, and we know he's not capable of this, would have said, let's calm down and let's lower the rhetoric on both sides. That's all he had to say. And then people would have, at least it would have said, Mr. President, I'm not a fan of yours. I didn't vote for you, but I agree with you. And I would have gone on the air the next day. If the man just did a 5-minute speech and said, I'm going to do a better job of attacking, I'm not going to attack one side of the aisle anymore. Right now, we need to lower the temperature. Political violence is never the answer. First of all, it would have saved lives. And second of all, I would have been the first person that would have said, yes, thank you, Mr. President. We needed to do more of that. He did the opposite. He blamed it on the radical left. He blamed it on one side of the aisle. Doesn't want to talk about January 6th. They're hostages and patriots. Doesn't want to talk about this poor woman who was a Democrat and her husband who was executed, an elected official. In fact, when he was asked about that, the other, who? I don't know who that is. Who? No, he only cares about one side, and that's the side. Stand back and stand by. Right? Stand back and stand by, because it's not about making America great again. It's about making America white again. And make no mistake about it, the reason why the flag was at half-mast is because Charlie Kirk was white and he was a Donald Trump supporter, and he spread the same bigotry and hatred that Donald Trump spreads every single day.
Yes, I totally agree with you, sir. And because they're always quick to blame the quote-unquote radical left. And also, say if Charlie Kirk was black and he was young at 30, 31 years old, but his message, and he had Fox News, you call it Fox noise, which I agree with you. If Charlie Kirk was black and was spewing the same type of dark, insidious messages towards white people or towards any other ethnic group, whether it be Jews, Hispanics, Asians, or whoever, Arabs or whoever, would that be a problem? And they were so gung-ho thinking that the shooter was a quote-unquote transgender or a radical left liberal. But when it's one of their own that did it to them, they don't know how to act. I truly believe that if you want the political violence to end, because all my years of following politics, not one administration, Democrat or Republican, that labeled these white nationalist groups, Proud Boys, Camp Auschwitz, Oath Keepers, Boogaloo, they never labeled them as domestic terrorists.
Let me ask you a question, because I think what you just said makes a lot of sense. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to ask this to all of our callers, but I want to ask you this. What if Charlie Kirk was black and he spread the same hateful rhetoric towards the right the way that Charlie Kirk spread his hateful rhetoric towards the left? What do you think would have happened to that person if they were black?
Brother Brian, they would have killed him, and they would have executed him, and they probably would have did more to him.
And I guarantee you that Charlie Kirk would not have been in a casket in Air Force 2 held by service members. I can tell you that right now. Thank you so much for the call, sir. I appreciate you very much. Let's go to Sylvia. Sylvia's next on PTL. Hello, Sylvia.
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
Hey, good, thanks. What's on your mind?
You mentioned something that mainly I wanted to talk to you about is the politician back in Minnesota that was assassinated, and her husband.
Yes, it's a horrible story.
I remember one of the reporters on Air Force One asking him if he was going to call the governor of Minnesota, and he said no, that he didn't know what he was doing and he wasn't going to waste his time. And then yet the other day, he just said he didn't know anything about it.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something right now that you may or may not agree with. Now, clearly, Donald Trump didn't care about that horrible crime that was committed in Minnesota, and my heart goes out to their family. It's a horrible situation. I'm going to say this right now. I don't think Donald Trump even cares about what happened to Charlie Kirk. I really don't. He stopped talking about it. He was asked about it the other day. He was, "How are you holding up, Mr. President?" "I'm fine." And then he went on to something else. I don't think Donald Trump even cares what happened to Charlie Kirk based on his behavior and his actions. He went to Yankee Stadium the next day. He was having a good old time partying it up. If that was one of your best friends, and apparently Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump spoke 2 to 3 times a week, my understanding, would you be at a baseball game the next day? Would you be playing golf the next day? That's who Donald Trump is.
No, I agree with you. I don't think he cares. He doesn't care about anybody but himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're right, my dear. I appreciate your phone call. You're absolutely right. Donald Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care about anybody else but himself, period. Let's go to Julie. Julie's next. Hello, Julie.
Brian, I've been trying to get on here since last week.
The phone lines are usually busy. Maybe one day we'll get more phone lines. I don't know. But we only had 3. Now we're up to 6. I think we need 20. I think we need 20 phone lines.
Yeah, we probably do.
25.
Last week was crazy. Charlie Kirk's death, all of that. And my boss had a heart attack. Well, almost had a heart attack.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
She's fine now, but be patient with me. I just literally had a concussion yesterday. I'm just flabbergasted. I actually saw how they're treating Charlie Kirk now. I knew this would happen. I could probably predict their freaking actions before they do them, because I was like, he's going to be a martyr to him. Lo and behold, Air Force One.
Well, Julie, think about it. Who do Republicans put on a pedestal? Who speaks at the Republican National Convention? When the McCloskeys were pointing their weapons at a bunch of black people that were not on their private property, the McCloskeys were charged with the crime. The Republican governor dropped the charges, and then they spoke at the Republican National Convention. Dana White is a guy, say what you want about him, who owns the UFC, who literally smacked his wife in public. He was a speaker at the Republican National Convention. Who else spoke at the Republican National Convention? Well, Kid Rock, a guy who used homophobic slurs at his concerts. Hulk Hogan, a guy who openly used the N-word, who was a blatant racist. So this is who the Republican Party is today. They put those types of people on a pedestal. Guess who paid Kyle Rittenhouse to speak at a college university? None other than Charlie Kirk. That's right. A 17-year-old idiot who shows up at a very dangerous Black Lives Matter protest in camouflage, acting like he's G.I. Joe with an AR-15, and 3 people end up losing their lives. And even Rittenhouse admits he shouldn't have been there. And Charlie Kirk rewards him and pays him.
I didn't know about this.
Yep. Yeah, Julie, that's exactly what happened. I wonder how the right would feel if somebody paid the shooter who executed a Republican. I'm wondering how the right would feel about that. Dave in the YouTube super chat says the Republicans are kissing Trump's ass. Please, voters in the midterm, put a check for D Democrats and draw a line through it. I'm going to bingo tonight. Thanks, Dave. Good luck. Good luck with your bingo. And I certainly agree with that sentiment that you just brought out in the YouTube super chat. Let's see, who are we going to next here? Let's see here. I can't read the name. All right, there we go. Let's go to Ernie. Ernie's next. What's up, Ernie?
Brian.
Yes, sir.
How come you don't like Trump? He's the greatest president ever.
Are you being sarcastic or are you being serious?
He's the greatest president ever, Brian.
Are you being...
He closed the border. He's the greatest president ever.
Something tells me, Ernie, you're pulling my chain. But if you're being serious, I'm happy to have the conversation with you. But I don't think you are.
No, Brian. I'm sorry. I had to get you, man.
Okay. Hey, you know what? You guys can try and get me.
I love your show, man. I just had to get you, man.
I love Donald Trump because, he's such a wonderful man. I can do sarcasm, too. He treats women with such respect. He values the dollar. He does so much for charity. He treats women so great. I mean, all of his ex-wives have said nothing but nice things about him. We know how much the love relationship is between him and Melania Trump. Not to mention, Stormy Daniels said he was a stud in the sack. Donald Trump has never broken a law in his life. He's just such a wonderful human being. And I just love the 7 layers of orange makeup that he puts on every day in his girdle. He's in fantastic physical condition for his age. Have you seen him swing a golf club? The guy's won 180 straight club championships. He's such a great golfer. So yeah, I can do sarcasm too once in a while.
But no, man, you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you, my friend.
Thank
you, sir. That means a lot. I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. Let's go to Barron. Barron is next up on PTL. Is this Barron Trump?
Hi, how are you, sir?
Okay, I'm guessing it's not Barron Trump. I'm very disappointed, but that's okay, Barron. Go right ahead.
No, my name's Barron. Hi.
How's it going, Barron? What's on your mind today?
I just wanted to tell you something really quick. There's this video called the N Factory, and it's spelled Nigga Factory. You need to look it up and watch that video. It's by a creator named Speech. It goes over the history, the advertising that was used. You should be able to find it on YouTube Speech. I really want you guys to check it out because it covers the entire history as far as like what is happening, the advertising that played, like there was tobacco called In Hair Tobacco, sir. Mm-hmm. That's all I wanted to tell you.
Okay, well, maybe we should send that. Maybe we should send that to Nick Fuentes. Maybe he should take a look at that video. But thank you for the call, sir. Let's see. Let's go to the MAGA Destroyer. We always love to hear from Darlene. Darlene, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. First of all, I get a message for that stupid caller that called earlier.
Yeah.
You don't understand, dude. You say something to Brian, you're saying something to PTL family. And we are a family here, and you don't matter to us. And I think you're just a big blanking idiot. Now, I had to say that first. But Brian, y'all think y'all got problems? Oh my God, live in Oklahoma, y'all. We have one man wanting to make a highway named after Charlie Kirk. And now, as I was sitting here calling in, John, my husband, told me, look at this. Now, the GOP, Republican people in Oklahoma want to make a state holiday in his honor.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you something. When I heard that, listen, Charlie Kirk was the guy who spoke all the trash about Martin Luther King Jr. MAGA Republicans are the people that don't even think we should have an MLK Day, but they think we should have a Charlie Kirk Day. We might as well have a Ku Klux Klan Day as well. That's what I think about these idiots who think we should have a Charlie Kirk Day. Okay, let's go ahead and praise David Duke too, or Jeffrey Dahmer. I mean, it never ends with these MAGA idiots. Darlene, it's great to hear from you, and I do appreciate your call. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff is calling all the way from Las Vegas. What's going on, Jeff?
Hey, how you doing? I've lived through this before because I remember back when all the TV evangelist scandals were going on.
Yep.
And, there was a laundry list. But the end result I came to was the term a wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay? And that's the term that seems to be coming up with me right now is we're dealing with a wolf in sheep's clothing. Because what they want to do now is they want to have every church, every preacher, throughout the United States to bend a knee for Charlie Kirk. And even, they want to go as far as, having the church be renamed Charlie Kirk Church.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah, this is absolutely.
These are the same people like Donald Trump who takes Martin Luther King's statue out of the Oval Office who want a statue in the White House. Let me tell you something. It's despicable is what it is, okay? It is absolutely despicable. And, as I say before and I say again, this is a horrible crime that was committed, but I refuse to sit here and praise Charlie Kirk or say there should be a statue in the Oval Office or make it Charlie Kirk Day. Okay, I'm sorry. We might as well have Ku Klux Klan Day. It's ridiculous. Let's go to Carl. Carl is next up on PTL. What's going on, Carl?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Brian. Listen, with all this going on with the Republicans against the Democrats and the assassination attempt, what it is unfortunately due to, the head of the health department now doesn't care about it. You'll find 95% of these assassination attempts have to do with mental illness because the ones who are doing these assassination attempts find out that over 90% of them are mentally ill. And there has to be a lot more attention or money spent on treatment of mental illness. And as far as the Kennedy goes, he could care less about it because unfortunately most of him and his friends are mentally ill. But it's a mental illness problem going on with these assassination attempts. Not just they hate the Republican hates the Democrat or Democrat hates the Republican. It's mentally ill people who are committing these assassinations.
Yeah,
more money has to be spent on treating mental illness in this country. That's a major problem.
Yeah, no, it is a major problem. Mental illness, Carl, is a huge issue. Speaking of huge issues, though, I do want to say that I do want to talk about Trey Reed tomorrow. I promised to do that. I am going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this black officer who lost his life because of this anti-vaccine idiot Trumper. But you don't hear MAGA Republicans talking about that, do you? A guy who served this country honorably in his early 30s, who was a black cop. And we do have some more information about the shooter in this Charlie Kirk murder. Some text messages have been released to the public, which I will be going over tomorrow, which show a clear path to premeditated murder, and it'll probably be easier for prosecutors if they don't already have enough evidence. But it appears as though he's talking to his boyfriend. That's my understanding of it. What else can I say about this? I'm going to be flying out to a Turning Point USA event later in the week. We will still be doing our show. I will still be calling in live from my location. But we'll be back at it certainly tomorrow. So I hear a lot of people every single day. from great, wonderful people every single day. I wish I could respond to all of you because I get so many of them. But what can I do to help? What can I do to support your show? Well, we are an independently owned entity. Okay, I don't answer to anybody. I can say what I want about Charlie Kirk, and to have that freedom, you need the help from your listeners, right? So the best thing you can do for me, besides the YouTube super chat and subscribing to my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show, go to my website. So my website is pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website, pushingthelimits.live. You can buy PTL merchandise on there, but you can also make donations. Some people do $5 a month. Some people do $20 a month, whatever you can afford. We appreciate that, and that helps us keep the lights on here, and you're supporting independent media, and I would like to think you're supporting a media entity that is honest, truthful, and fair, that does not have an agenda. So that website, again, is pushingthelimits.live for anybody out there that wants to help us out and support the show. We really appreciate all of you. Gosh, we just get so many wonderful phone calls every day. I just want you guys to know how much I appreciate all of you. We just passed 143,000 YouTube subscribers. I want you all to know how much I love and appreciate all of you in PTL Nation for listening to this show every day. Even you MAGA supporters out there that call in, you make the show fun. But I appreciate all of you very much, because without you guys, I wouldn't be here. So I just want to show you guys some gratitude and how much I appreciate what you guys have done to grow the show. So thank you so much. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado